Welcome, this is another episode of Q-Doma TV, also known as the Rubeus Archos channel. And once again, there's something that's been really grinding my gears literally for the last day or so. And basically, the one thing I think that's been on my mind, I saw some videos today, and it really made me think. And I've been talking about this kind of stuff for quite some time. One of the subject matters dealing with creativity, another one dealing with diversity. Those things they play a really large role in our world today. Now, how does this relate to what I'm about to talk about? Well, okay. Basically, what I'm going to basically be talking about, I'm going to talk about comic books, video games, and movies. And I'm going to tell you how all this comes in together. First thing I'm going to talk about. I'm going to talk about comic books. That is the first thing I'm going to talk about. I saw this video. I mean, on what is it? Common. I think it's a Common Storian. He made some really good points about diversity in comics, and he was touching base about the thing with Marvel, Marvel and the thing with DC and that sort of thing, and what he used to read for, and how it used to be. And the thing about it is nothing wrong with having diversity. Diversity's cool. And I'm gonna tell you something else. There was another guy. He said he talked about the diversity too. He said the same thing. I forget. You got Common Storian, and you got Comics Explained. Yeah, both of those guys, I really love their videos. I look at their stuff all the time. But the subject here is, when does it start to become a problem? It's like, all right, before any of y'all think I'm like, oh, he's going crazy, he's nuts, he don't know what he's talking about. No, that's not the case. My whole thing is nothing wrong with having diversity in comics. I'm all for that. Now don't get me wrong, it doesn't necessarily mean that every time they decide to slip in some diversity, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm on board. I mean, it's good that they have it. It's good. We've come a long way, especially considering looking at everything that's happened since last year. Looking at, I mean, with the stuff with the election and stuff. Joke there, set your clock 300 years back, but then we've come so far, we don't want to take no steps back. But at the same time, I think the reality we need to really look at here is, when certain things are being forced. Now, the problem with Marvel is, they've literally changed up everything. Everything's like gone berserk. It's like, okay, it's fine. We got Miles Morales, and our universe is no longer an alternate thing. He's there where Peter Parker is. That's cool. That's fine. But the problem is like this. Peter Parker is kind of like the new Tony Stark. Tony Stark is like the new Jarvis, and where it is, you got Doom as Iron Man, you got this new chick, Riri Williams. She's freaking daggone gonna be taking up the mantle on Iron Man. I mean, it's like all these changes. It's crazy, and don't get me wrong, it's cool to have that, but when you just change stuff up so much to the degree when you just literally don't have, what are you doing, Minus? I mean, to the point where you just don't have nothing where you can recognize anymore. It's just like with the old man Logan. I said something to somebody about this. I said, that's fine. Old man Logan is cool. in his own right. But the thing about it is, I guess I felt like this, look, if you're gonna kill a character off, he should just be dead dead. Don't have no clones running around. Don't have no alternate universe versions. Old man Logan is like a walking paradox. It's like it's crazy. But at the same time, it's like it's nice to have you need to have a balance. That way, people have a choice. And don't get me wrong, in in the greater scheme of things, there's gonna always be some people that's upset. That's always the case. There's gonna be some people that say, "Oh, you know what? I can't deal with this. This is not gonna work. I'm just gonna stop reading comments altogether." And the point is, you can't please everybody. We already know that. I've seen this time and time again with a lot of other things. I could say the same thing. Now you want to talk about, I could say the same thing in movies. Same thing. I mean, one of my problems, I feel like, with some of the, I guess with some of the superheroes movies, is like, I see some diversity, but at the same time, it's like I feel that people need something they need to recognize. And I said this in other videos, as far as like talking about source material. Why is source material important? Well, it's important for the simple fact because when you change that particular thing to a point where nobody recognizes it, then it becomes questionable. Then you wonder why people are upset because you changed that particular thing into something that that wasn't unrecognizable. And don't get me wrong, I do understand the concept of creativity. Creativity is important, and I feel that there should be creativity, and it shouldn't be, I guess like shackles on people that have their vision of what they want to do. And that's fine. People are welcome to do that. That's why you have art and freedom of speech and all that good stuff. That's fine. But at the same time, there is a fine. I feel there are fine lines with that kind of stuff. Into the sense is, when you already have something that's already established, is one thing if it'd be a different thing if it was like, okay, if I came out with something and it was just completely brand new, and it was like, okay, this is my idea, and let's say the name of my creation was Cyber Guy or something like that. And all right, I'll say for the last year, this is what it was. This was the concept of that. And you saw what that was. Now okay, so this is what you use. And let's say, for instance, someone just came along out of the blue and just flat out and just changed him just right away, at the drop of a hat. Like, you would be like, wait a minute, what's going on? It's like, I totally invested myself in this character. Now it's like it's completely went somewhere else. Now if you look at certain histories with certain stuff, it's like, you can definitely follow certain things, certain patterns. I mean, I give you another example. If you look at, like, in our pop culture, like back years ago, when Christopher Reeves was playing Superman, that was the thing. That was literally, I mean, like, hey, this is Superman. Like, yay, everyone knew him, and it took like us forever to get a new Superman. I mean, aside from animated series stuff. We want to say, aside from that, when they came out with the animated series Superman stuff, it was pretty much on par. Getting past the fact that, I noticed how they did a little change in there. Like, Superman kind of looked like he had a tan. Lex Luthor looked like he was black. I noticed that, that they slipped in that. I guess that was their kind of way trying to appeal to, I guess to certain demographic or whatever. I don't know. It's that's just like I remember a time like a couple of years back when you had a Fantastic Four where all of them looked like they had a tan. If any of y'all can remember that, I mean, what was that all about? Yeah. I don't know. It's just, it's just wow. As you go through the times and the changes, and it's like you notice different things. But then, coming back to the movies again, when they came out with Superman's Return. Now, the guy who did that, he tried to pick up right off where, the Christopher Reeve thing on, and it didn't work. It was just like, okay, well, we want to try, we want to still try to stay classic. There's nothing wrong with being classic, but once again, so much time had elapsed since Christopher Reeve's Superman, that particular Superman, and for you to bring that same Superman and same like the same look and everything, it wasn't received as well. It was like it was a weak. It was all right to some certain, but it was a weak Superman, and the story was kind of in question. It was like, okay, here we go. Superman has a kid, da da da, da 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 da. You didn't really go into no explanations with full explanations with stuff, and it just kind of left us hanging. And that pretty much turned out to be a disaster. There was no sequel from that movie, that Superman Return, and that was it. It wasn't the actor's fault. It was the person who looking at the producing, who produced it, whose idea that was. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, sometimes that doesn't always work. Going back to classic. I mean, but once again, is there kind of has to be a balance. Sometimes you got to be careful how you do that because give or take, it can make or break your fan base. Speaking of which, I can also touch base. I mean, here another good example: Dragon Ball Z. Any of you that love anime, that growed up with Dragon Ball Z back in the day, it's just like you remember the Cell Saga, the Boo Saga. You remember all that stuff. Going even further back, Dragon Ball. All that, and now of course now we're into the day we got Dragon Ball Super. Now, mind you, now keep in mind is Dragon Ball Super will never be freaking Dragon Ball Z. That's just a reality. I mean, even though Toriyama is still the creator of that, and you got a lot of other hands involved with that series, and it's like, it's kind of hard now, with Dragon Ball Z, it's a little bit more complex because the funny thing about the Dragon Ball Z universe is like, all right, you have the stuff that's by Toriyama, comics, I mean, manga, what have you. You got all that, but at the same time, you got other stuff that was created that's like by friends of his or other folks, and it's like, on one hand, it's like, okay, you got that, you got Dragon Ball GT, and then you got, I mean, don't get me wrong, you got some stuff in the Dragon Ball Super that's like not, it's like filler, or it wasn't even made by him. It's like, well, he has control or whatever, but it's like it's still like, all right, Dragon Ball, it's still like his baby. But the problem is that comes into mind is like, it's hard to figure out, like, well, okay, like what's canon and what's not canon. It's just like, you can have filler episodes that look like, you can have that are really good, and you be like, wait a minute, oh, I really love that. Oh no, that's this filler. That's not no relevance, to the thing. It's just like with a lot of the movies, the Dragon Ball Z movie, a lot of them movies that came out, arguably are not canon with I mean, with, I guess, with the series. And it's kind of funny because like if you look at like when we came into the new era with Dragon Ball Super, and when they came out with that, there was the movie. The movie told a story, but it is like when you got to the series, it kind of told something slightly different. And then you got the manga, it's telling a similar story, but still slightly different. And it's like it's kind of convoluted in a way. It's like, hey, what's going on? But once again, you know, in the greater scheme of things, that's Dragon Ball Z for you. That's just kind of how it is. It's like, you got fans out there up and down, to the day they die, whether it be, you know, whatever's showing up, they will defend Dragon Ball Z to the day they die. That's just how it is, because that means it has a massive fan base. I even think to a certain degree, even if Toriyama kicked the bucket, and somebody else took over the whole daggone thing, people would still be watching Dragon Ball Z. It wouldn't matter. I mean, the fan base is so massive. I mean, you got Dragon Ball Z AF, you got the fan made stuff and everything else. I mean, it's just an ongoing thing. And the thing about it is, I've been watching it for years, and I don't know everything about it. I'm always learning something new every day about that series. It's like, sure, I watched it, the old stuff and all that, but it's like some things I just come to expect. I like it's like what's canon, what's not canon. It's like some people look at it in a full. They say, well, hey, it's all connected in some way. It's like the idea is still a lot of stuff still came from Torian. I mean, some people look at it as like, oh, it's all canon. Whether you want to accept it or not. I mean, and then in some aspects, I mean, for myself, if you ask me what I think about that, I said I'm kind of like that to a certain degree. It's the same thing with comic books. Go on with comic books. When you now with comic books, it's funny because when you get new writers, they give they change certain stuff up. It's like, oh yeah, this is the way it is now. Does that mean does that taken away from? No, that's not taking away it from me, because the thing about it is I read it and I know it. And that's what I know. But you have some people that's they so heavily invested in that version of the story. Now that's something else I want to I want to get into too. Because aside from the diversity factor, there is that whole thing with change. A lot of people, some people can't deal with change. It's like, well, all right, when you sit there and you change something about that person's character that they was invested with, and that's something they always knew to be, and they took it away. People feel a certain kind of way. It's kind of like when Captain America, the whole Hydra thing. When they rebooted Captain America from #1, and it was like, oh, Captain America's back. Yay, and then like at the end of the comic book, it's like Hail Hydra. Like, what the hell's going on? It's like, it was a complete shocker. Now for me, it didn't like for me, I mean, I didn't take it the same way, because my whole thing is, I never hated Captain America, but I never was like in love with the character like that. I mean, it was kind of just one of them things. It was like, oh, Captain America's a bad guy. Now, now things are getting interesting. And looking at it now, going advancing forward, Captain America and as a bad guy is much more fascinating than Captain America the good guy, because it's a good, I guess, perspective on how things are now. It's like things are not what they are. It definitely reflects the times of our day. It's like we needed that shakeup. I felt we really needed that shakeup. So to say is going back on what I was saying with change and diversity. And that's one of the good things I can say Marvel did. Same thing what they did with female 4. They how they brought her into the swoop of things, and I like the way they introduced that character. that character was cool. You know, they didn't just throw her in. It was something that happened from another comic book leading on up. And you know, the thing about it is, when you do change, sometimes if you do stuff too fast and you know you just kind of just rush it, it can kind of it can also kind of cause problems. You know, it's like, I don't know. I mean, good. I guess one good example of that is kind of like, you know, what can I say? What was a good example of certain stuff being rushed? I mean, in the Marvel universe, they have been killing people off like no tomorrow. Like, I don't know. I just felt it's crazy how they set up there and had Hawkeye kill Hulk just like that. You know, I don't know. It just like, it's this insane of all things. You know, it's just like, you know, there could have been a better way. There could have been a better way you could have did that. I don't know. I don't know. You know, it's like, once again, that goes back to the whole thing with the Wolverine thing. You know, if you're gonna kill, if you're gonna, you know, yeah, I liked how they worked it up, but then after they killed him, they, you know, it was like, you know, for me to even miss the character, he has to be missed. But you got, you know, you got X-23 taking up the book, whatever. You know, you kill Hulk, you bring Hulk back as a zombie. You know, it's just like, if you're gonna kill somebody, kill him, make him dead. You know, it's, I don't know. It's, you know, it's like, it's so much. I have so many issues with, you know, and don't get me wrong, there's certain things with comic books, there's certain things with anime, it bugs me, you know. It's like, and I'd be like sitting there and saying, you know, it's like looking at the fans, and you know, I don't feel like I'm as bad about it when it comes to some people. You know, I feel like with certain things, people are like drug addicts when it comes to it. You know, it could be bad, it could be good, but you know, they will defend it forever. You know, and it's, you know, that's nothing wrong with being invested in characters. But I look at it this, you gotta also realize the realization is, you know, at any moment, you know, something could change right then and there. But you know, that's just like a given. And I'm gonna tell you, speaking of that, if you look at video games, now that's another lovely subject matter I would love to jump into here. I mean, I love games. I mean, I've been playing video games for like years. I mean, you know, I am I was born in '77, believe it or not. I know I don't look like it. Some people think I'm immortal. But aside from that, you know, I've seen things come and go. You know, I've seen some crazy stuff. And you know, I guess sometimes I feel the same thing. You know, creativity is good, but you know, the thing about it is, you know, you need to give fans what they need. You know, if you want some change, if you want some, you know, give people, you know, choice. There's some stuff like I'm not really particularly a fan of. You know, it's like, and you know, I see this in the gaming world a lot. It's kind of like, you know, versus the quality, and you know, you got the quality of something versus, you know, this making something for the hell of it. You know, it's like, well, okay, you know, this is this. We're gonna slap something on it, and we're gonna sell it, and it's like, we don't care what you think, and that's kind of just the end of it. You know, I feel, you know, it shouldn't be like that. You know, like, you care about your fan base, you should give people what they want. I understand people got to make money, and this goes across the whole board with everything else, whether it be comic books, anime, whatever. You know, but the thing about it is, I feel like, you know, when you rush stuff, that's when you screw up. Totally. When you just throw anything out there just for sake of making it. Good example of this, that goddamn Ghostbusters. Yes, I said it. That damn, you know, with the all-female cast. And I don't got nothing against them particularly, but I'm sorry, like what they was given, they was literally working with, you know. I mean, if I could take that movie and totally restructure it, I can make it completely better. There was some aspects of that film, some aspects that could be redeemable and reused. But at the same time, I saw a lot of rehashing in that movie for what they was trying to make, as far as like a change in things. I mean, I was like, why? Why did you do this? Why did you kill it for us? This is once again taking something that people had known for all their life and just literally, I don't know, this turning it into a disaster. I don't know. But going back to the video game thing, I feel that's kind of how I feel about it. It's like, if you come out with something, you know, and let's say the first round you came out with a particular thing, and like, all right, this is what it is, and let's say it didn't take off well so well. Okay, when round two comes out, you should learn from that mistake. You should totally learn from that mistake. You should learn from it. And the sense is, it's like, look, that didn't work last time. People were unhappy. And the thing is, let's not do that again. Let's be better about that. And the same thing, look, this is the same thing with the comic books, anime, what have you. The same scenario. I'm just saying this. People don't really like sit there. They don't take those things in consideration. It's like you can have diversity. You can have creativity. You can have your source material. But the thing about it is, if you don't balance these factors out, where you actually can make something cohesive, it just turns into trash. That's what it is. We need quality in the stuff we like. But at the same time, I understand. Just like I hate to say it, just like sports fans, there will be constantly people arguing back and forth about okay, I don't like this and this that, and there's gonna always be the conflict, no matter how good you try to make it or what have you. But the thing about it is, if you try to make this, like, to make the effort of doing it, I feel that's at least worth something if you try. And the thing about it is, it's not always have to be about money. You can make the money, but the thing about it is, you gotta give us. I feel, give me something that I can work with. Don't just, I don't know. It's like certain stuff. It's like certain stuff just irks me sometimes. I mean, like, I'd be like, like, why do you want to? I mean, like, okay, I'm a gamer, and I'd be like, why do you want to make me pay for characters? Why? Why do you want to do that? That's not cool. It's just like how you got some people, they will stick with something even regardless of what certain things or what have you. It's I like I give you an example. All right, like, okay, I like stuff that Capcom. I like Street Fighter franchise. It's cool. What I mean? They have made some not so good decisions, and I've still stuck by it. Regardless. And that's just how it was. I mean, I said up there, I paid $60 for that newest Street Fighter, and for it only not to be not only for it to be an incomplete game, but for it to be lacking certain stuff. I mean, hell, now they came out with the rest of the content, and I was like, okay, cool, all right, I got some new characters to play with, and I was just like, what the hell, and they made certain stuff playable. Then they sat there and took it back and told me I had to buy them. I was just like, oh, really? I like, why are you doing this to me? What did I do to deserve this? I am like, I love Street Fighter. I have loved Street Fighter since I was a kid. I mean, I can remember the first character I played when I was at the arcade. I beat that daggone game with that character. I mean, like I said, I said, I must be the biggest fool in the world. I was like, for me to, like, I don't know, to pay $60 for that game, and I know there are other people that had probably paid way more. And normally, I don't really buy new games like that. I really don't like. I guess I had to really, really, it had to be something really a strong incentive for me to pay $60 for a game like that. It really has to be. Otherwise, with that is no. It's like, I guess it's like the same reason it has to be a really strong incentive for me to go to a movie to see certain things at a movie theater. It's like, what is it that's going to get you to do it? Same thing with the comic books. They had to give me a good reason why I should buy this comic. Why? There's your question. Why? And if you can't find a good reason, then maybe you shouldn't buy it. Maybe you shouldn't go see that movie. And maybe you shouldn't buy that video game. There's a lesson to be learned here, folks. Totally, definitely. And coming around full circle with all what I just talked about, with creativity and diversity and all those things, all those things are important. But the thing about it is, at the end of the day, when it comes down to people like you and me, I feel that we are the deciders in all this, because we choose like whether we wanna be part of this or not. It's like, because the reality is, as time goes on, you know, the things that we are invested in, they're not going to be the same thing as they were that the day that they came out. Whether it be something brand new or whether it be something that's been around for a long, long time. And that's something that we all need to understand. We're going to have our highs and lows with that. And, that's pretty much what that's all I can say about that. And I just had to get this out, because it was like literally this was been on my mind, like literally, like since I saw the videos with common story and freaking comments explained, that I'm gonna tell you, those videos were awesome. They really got me thinking. I mean, this is like deep stuff. This is stuff that this is the kind of stuff that I talk about like on a regular. I talk about this kind of stuff. This isn't this no child's play type stuff. This is the real deal. This is stuff that you can really sink your teeth in. Stuff that really makes you sit down and think like, oh yeah, you know what, that's a good question. I mean, let me reevaluate, some of my decisions, some of the things, that I like. I'm not telling nobody to stop liking what they like, but I just want to give people, you know, something to think about. Like, okay, just sit down and really ask yourself, like, with everything that you into, is it really, you gotta ask yourself, is it really worth it? Some of it, That's why I always said that. I always joke about people like people that like sports, like they're so religiously into the sports. It's like, and the thing about it is, the sad reality about it is video game fans, comic book, anime is like some of us, we act just as bad as they do. They are just as bad. I mean, they will scream up and down about stuff. If you don't like it, they'll be ready to whip your ass in a minute or whatever the case may be. Like, what? You don't what? You mean Superman is better than Goku? How dare you? I will stab you for that shit. Or, like, oh, what? No, wait a minute. What do you mean One Punch Man is stronger than Goku? What are you talking about? Goku been around forever. No, you didn't. Shucks, I'm gonna unfriend you. God damn it. Oh no, hell with that stuff. I mean, it's crazy how some like little petty stuff. I mean, look, I've been going to anime cons for years. I've seen people, I mean, literally, hate on certain stuff for whatever reason it is. I can tell you, like, way back, like years ago, like, people were hating on Ruin Kenshin. It's like, oh, we don't like people that like the way of Ruin Kenshin. We don't beat their ass. Like, what the hell? What is your problem? I don't understand that. I mean, like, it's this crazy. I mean, I've ran into some like casual people that were just kind of weird or whatever, in the sense, like, like I ran into one dude long time ago. Like I said, all right, you like Star Wars? Yeah, I like Star Wars. You think Darth Vader, can be some? Oh yeah, I think Darth Vader can be. Darth Vader is the best in the world. Not thinking, like no, it's like I don't know. It was just weird. It was like okay. I felt like I couldn't get a word in edgewise, and it was just like Darth Vader, Darth Vader, Darth Vader. Okay, I like Darth Vader too, but I'm not, I'm not that bad with it. So, once again, you got some of those folks too, and it's like, there's certain names, I'm sure we already know, like fanboys, it's like, look, that's just like now with me. It's like, I like One Punch Man, I like Superman, I like, I had my characters who I like, Now, it's like, I like Batman, I like Batman. I don't, I mean, I had my favorites within the genres or types, but I don't know. It's funny that way. It's just like when people, Vegeta, Goku. I don't hate Goku. I like Goku. I don't, that I'm personal about. Get it? People need to get over that stuff. But this video's gone on really long. It's like 36 minutes and 8 or whatever seconds. But I'm gonna wrap this up. And I mean, if y'all got any questions, comments, I don't know. I feel like I was just all over the place. The damn freaking the knowledge in my brain and my cranium was just going all over the place. I don't know. So I just had to sit there and just like I just had to let it out because it was just like, it was literally just taking over my brain. But anyway, this is Qdoma. I hope you enjoy this little video. I know it's running long as hell. Questions, comments, whatever the case may be, hit me up. It's like, I just had to talk about this. This was some deep stuff that was in my mind, and I just had to share it. Thank you.